strategies. Surface tourism. Leisure is also surface tourism. So the definition of regeneration is a very narrow base. And the cultural policy is used as a local response to globalization, and the need to attract and hold international investment, like Hong Kong. So the city's culture is packaged and repackaged as incentive to investors. And they use things that you are familiar with, right? Urban flagship waterfront renaissance, like Central and West Kowloon. Attract new property development, like Central and West Kowloon. And do good copies of older European architecture, right? like Georgian facades, which Guangzhou does a lot. You go to Guangzhou and you see a lot of these, the floor and the ground of the city lighting up and so forth, and the Georgian facades. And like this facade we have in Wan Chai, and also like our new Star Ferry and so forth, right? And a lot of urban advertising. So you go to Discovery Channel, you see your city as an advertisement every day. So this is cultural policy as the mobilization of spectacle, looking at the city as a city of luxury, a city of gentrified population. They promote urban events like Guangdong Yinfa every day, right? Extravaganzas in constant display. So very much like what Hong Kong did under Dong Yinfa. But if you look at the statistics after this year of Glasgow as the city of culture, you find that the benefits of this kind of spectacular urban promotion was short-lived, fragile, uncertain, as a tool of revitalization across the board of a lot of industries. Now, Glasgow at that time, unlike Hong Kong, was in a pretty bad decline. At first, Glasgow's shipyard was 1/5 of the world's tonnage in the early 1910s. Right? It was called the second city of the British Empire. They had the lowest unemployment rate in Britain. But after the First World War, it plummeted to become a deserted derelict town since post-World War I, and it continues to decline into the 60s and 70s. But like Hong Kong, it also claimed to be an international city, metropolitan city, not found in other British cities, right? Like Hong Kong claiming to be the most cosmopolitan tiny city, they claim to be the most exaggerated myth of Glasgow as the most international city in Britain. Of course not, right? But unlike Hong Kong, it claimed a second thing. Hong Kong claimed to be a cultural desert. But Glasgow claimed distinct skill of local labor force, which engendered contemporary visual art skills. And they claim that they're heavy engineering capital of the world. Their skills of iron smelting, railway, marine locomotive engineering, the building of sewing machines, Senga comes from there. Like Hong Kong, pre-war to 1950s, had a lot of high-density, low-quality tenement housing, like Tonglao, tenement housing like Manbat like Tonglao and Wan Chai, for working class. They are small and they have primitive facilities like no flush toilet, like Lang Lok. Lang Lok is tenement housing. So imagine a lot of Lang Lok in Glasgow. And how do you rehouse the working class, right, in public municipal public housing? Next, and they use strategies copied from Hong Kong as well. Like Hong Kong, why would the government want to provide public housing in the 1950s? Because the squatter people, right, are taking up the most precious land in the center of the city. Urban slum is taking up the most precious land. So you demolish the urban slum and sell those land to land developers to build factories, and you build cheap public housing next to the factory to provide cheap labor for the land developers and the businesses and so forth. So Hong Kong case, in the 1950s, the removal of the urban slum would mean 2/3 of the newly cleared land would be given to private development, especially the building of factories like in Kuntong, right? And the government built right next door public housing to put the workers there, like Choiho and Kuntong, Jiwan, right? So it was the same kind of idea in Glasgow. The dockyards are empty, no shipbuilding, no car building. So what do? Clear the urban slum. Right. We house the working class in municipal housing next to the land of manufacturing corporations and now service corporations. And you see in Glasgow something very similar to Hong Kong as well. Public housing schemes encircling the city as satellite towns. Right. But these new satellite towns, like the satellite towns in Hong Kong, are unable to reinvent the sense of community and activity of old tenement housing areas, like Tin Shui Wai, like Tuen. And therefore, they have a lot of social problems, high social costs. Same problem, copied from Hong Kong to Glasgow. And like what we feel about tenement housing in Wan Chai nowadays, people in Glasgow begin to feel being moved outside to the fringe of the city satellite town public housing. Now they feel sentimental nostalgia for the lost lifestyle and community neighborly spirit and everyday life habitus that they used to have in the tenement housing. Like we feel nostalgia for the lifestyle of old districts that we have toured during the last 2 weeks. So this Glasgow reinvention as a European city of culture is actually done through revitalizing the tenement housing areas, like revitalizing Blue House all over the place, like revitalizing Sakit Lane, like revitalizing Manbat. So they revitalize the tenement housing without demolition. And they convert the city center warehouses into some other use, like theaters, as a kind of adaptive reuse. And again, the strategy they use is minimal demolition. Very, very unlike Hong Kong. Now, it's not Glasgow as a culture-led urban redevelopment claiming to be a city of culture, of contemporary visual arts. Glasgow, although it is a port city like Hong Kong, it does not choose the model of waterfront-driven economy like West Kowloon, but it is more like the model of revitalizing Wan Chai and Shan Shui Po, preserve, revitalize the old tenement housing districts. Very interesting choice, but unlike Hong Kong. So what the city government did was to support cultural activities in the communities, in the local communities, by having a lot of temporary exhibitions and community art projects. It is financed by public-private partnership in a campaign of municipal marketing and self-promotion. And businesses also have a new role. The business also chip in money to advance education, art education, publishing, and the arts. And the belief that they base on is this: Glasgow should be proud of its artistic and cultural heritage. Glasgow has quietly established itself as a city of the arts, a great city of the arts, and gradually achieving critical mass of cultural activities to become part of the literature marketing center and have access to city parks. It has outdoor recreation and the proximity to the Scottish Highlands, nature. So it thinks that it has everything ready. And in the 1980s, culture became the center stage in the promotion of post-industrial Glasgow. Now the question for us in Hong Kong is, do we have this kind of cultural groundwork that Glasgow has? And again, we don't. Now, what Glasgow did was it's something like this: a lot of programs, a lot of software. They support local artists and groups to organize a broad cultural program, over 500 of them, and allow the artists to organize these programs on their own terms.